You go to the bottom right by where our pictures are and you hit links.
Oh, I think I see what. Hang on. Let me just put this in. So I have. All right, that should be good on that. Pictures, links. Where the fuck are you? What? I see me. Choose links. That one? No, that's like shared links.
I got you. I'll put it in the.
Yeah, just do that, and then
I'll put it in this little chat right here.
Oh, fuck! I never used. I have so many windows going. I have like my regular Gmail. I have this Gmail.
All right, here we go.
Did you hit broadcast yet?
Yeah, we're live right now. I didn't start recording it yet, though. Bum bum ba da 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 da.
Oh Jesus! I had it open at the same time, and it was just like
Too much audio.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of stuff going on.
All right, let's do this. You ready?
Yep, ready to go.
I do wish that we had video going and that the video didn't make the bandwidth extremely difficult, because you should see me every time this music starts before we start a podcast. But this is the Dump and Chase podcast. This is season 2, I believe, episode 2. A new start with myself, Shane Blackburn. Today's Reagan King. You can follow him at Reagan King Isles. You could follow me at Dump and Chase 80. Dan Savarino might be joining us a little bit later. He had to work tonight, so he can't be with us just yet. This is a special post-game edition of the Dump and Chase podcast, as the Islanders just capped a 4-3 overtime win over the Winnipeg Jets. An ugly overtime win. I'm going to bring Reagan in now. Reagan, how ugly was that win?
Ugly doesn't describe it. It does not describe it one bit. That was just a bizarre game. Just in every aspect, it was bizarre.
It was the epitome of this road trip, though. An ugly game played by the Islanders, but an ugly 2 points they come away with. And I know we've said it before, and we were talking about it right before we went live as well, that good teams find ways to win games even when they're playing bad. And the Islanders have done that throughout this road trip. This is a game that for sure the Islanders lose last year. For sure the Islanders lose 2 years ago. These are the points that the Islanders threw away last year that cost them home ice advantage, but it's the points they're getting this year that gives them that opportunity to surpass the Rangers. We have 3 games in hand on the Rangers after tomorrow. So right now it's 2, but the Rangers do play tomorrow night, so we'll have 3 games in hand on them as we roll into the final game of this road trip, which will be in the Garden on Sunday, which that's a game I'm very much looking forward to. I think it's going to really tell the Islanders where they are at this point. The Islanders stand 3 points out behind the Rangers with 2 games in hand, and then depending on what the Rangers do, I believe they're playing the Capitals tomorrow. So depending on what they do tomorrow night against Washington, we'll have 3 games in hand for sure. And we'll just have to see how many points behind we are, whether it's still 3 or whether it goes to 4 or 5. But that game Sunday is big, and I don't know. Let me ask you here. What do you think the chances are we're playing that game without Cal Clutterbuck?
Unfortunately, they might be good. We discussed it earlier, and it just I don't know if he gets away with this one. As much as we would like him and we need him in the game, I don't know if we see him on Sunday.
It was an ugly slash to Burmistrov. I believe it was in the second period or early third. Can't remember now. The game just happened. You think I'd be able to remember that?
To be honest with you, I can't help you either. So that speaks volumes to how that game was.
But it was an ugly slash behind the play. I'm sure retaliation for the Bufflin slash on Shane Prince, who, by the way, scored his first goal as an Islander in just his second game. A big goal for the team as well. But still, it's an ugly slash behind the play that I'm sure will get looked at by the Department of Player Safety. Whether it earns a suspension, a fine, or nothing, I'm not sure. I think if you look at the Clutterbuck slash there, you also have to look at the Bufflin slash on Prince and make a decision on that as well. Both of them were pretty ugly two-handers. Although the angles I saw, I don't even think Clutterbuck made contact with Burmistrov, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of another ugly Islander win. I mean, I've done the 3 things we learned from last night's game throughout this road trip, and it seems like every night I'm starting it with another ugly win for the Islanders, and I have to find a new way to say that so I don't get repetitive, but it really is just another ugly Islanders win. What did you take away from this win here? Just general sense before we really get into it.
General sense was, I think you hit the nail on the head. It was ugly. I mean, I did post-game duty tonight, so I think I started the same way you started a lot of yours, where it was essentially just mediocrity was the best way to just define that game. And even, I think that's being kind. I think it wasn't a good game. It was ugly for the most part. Every time you look up, the Jets had the puck in the offensive zone. But yeah, in a word, mediocrity, and that'd be putting it kindly.
It was we were talking before we came on here. We were sending each other hangout messages and talking about what we were going to talk about when we came on here. And I said, I really hope that you have positives, because I have a lot of negatives about this game. And that's funny, because you figure after a 4-3 win, a post-game edition of a podcast would have a lot of positives because the team won. But I have a lot of negatives that I'd like to delve into. So I hope you have some positives to weigh the scale. If not, I mean, I guess we're just going to delve into some of the negatives.
Yeah, and I don't think either of us want to sugarcoat it, but no, there's not many positives here. And yes, 2 points is 2 points. I don't want to take anything away from a win. But yes, at the end of the day, it wasn't a pretty win. And a lot of the games in this road trip haven't been pretty. But again, they came away with points. But to your point, not a whole lot of positives that we can take away from this, even this road trip, if nothing else.
Right. I'd say the only 2 positives we could take away from this road trip are Thomas Greiss and the fact that we're getting points every game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Greiss has been he won the game the other night. Well, I wouldn't say it was his best game by any means tonight, but again, he got the win, so more power to him. But Greiss, great. Yeah, other than Greiss, and the wins and points, not a whole lot to take away from this trip.
Not a whole lot to take away at all. I mean, I think that first period was the real epitome of the negative of the Islanders team as of late. 6 shots on goal in the first period. They gave up 15 to the Jets. So I do think that's been the case all too often. Not getting enough shots on net. I mean, Ryan Strome was the perfect example there in the third period. He cuts across just inside the blue line. Everybody's crashing the net, and he tries to force that pretty pass through instead of just firing a puck on net. Look at the Calvin DeHaan goal. That should show all these guys on the team, all you have to do is shoot the puck. Shoot the puck towards the net. You'll get a bounce. You'll get a tip. Something will go right. All you got to do is throw the puck at the net. Look at the DeHaan goal. Look at the Leddy goal. I don't understand why more people on this team can't look at that and say, hey, why don't we just get more pucks to the net? The lack of shots is part of what's killing me. I do have a theory on why I think some of the guys aren't taking as many shots as they should. It might be a little crazy, so I won't get into it just yet. But when it comes to not taking shots, what do you see out there from the Islanders?
It's exactly what we discussed it last week. We touched on it. It's the same. I mean, it's what you just said, but it's the reason the power play was dreadful tonight. It's why they found themselves in a rut tonight. They're not shooting the puck. I just pulled up the on ice events tonight from the game. So looking from an even strength perspective, Ryan Strome was 50%, Corsi 4. Everyone else was below 50%. So that alone is showing you that these guys aren't getting the puck to the net. They're not possessing the puck as much as they should be. And yeah, it's something that it's concerning, especially since you look at the last 10 games or so, and they're well below that 50% mark. So they're essentially getting outpossessed in every game, in the majority of games, especially the last 10. But yeah, it's you got to start shooting the puck. And like you said, good things happen. So it's, the fact that the trend is not in their favor is not ideal, especially getting to this point in the season. You can't be heading into the playoffs with really the play that they're playing at. And we mentioned this earlier, but the fact that, good teams find a way to win. This team's they're not winning these games if this is a playoff environment or they're playing playoff teams. So sure, they're getting the points against poorer teams. You can't do this against the Capitals. You can't do this against the Rangers. They're just not going to come away with 2 points in these situations. So they just need to start generating a lot more offense and really be more careful with the puck, if anything else.
And that surprises me that Strome is the one who led the team in the Corsi 4. Because he's one of the ones who I felt, maybe not throughout this game, but through most of the road trip, has been one of the worst possessive numbers guys on the team. So I'm surprised that he led the team with the Corsi 4 in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't know. For the most part, I'd say, and it's kind of been harped on a lot between Twitter and just, between fans, but Strome and Lee, for a lot of it, have been almost invisible on the ice. You just don't see them. I mean, tonight, we had, I believe it was that one opportunity with a broken stick, not his fault, but at the same time, I feel like, he's just been invisible out there. You're not seeing him, and he's not having that impact that we saw, last year. He was great, but those guys have been very quiet, and people, I can't remember who it was on Twitter. I'd give him credit if I could, but Lee and Strome haven't been the players we were expecting. So that kind of throws a wrench into the plans of how this team was expected to play and what we were really expecting from just really this roster. You have guys like Kuhlman, Grabowski, and kind of knew what we were getting with them. Sure, Kuhlman hasn't been great this year by any means, but when guys like Lee and Strome are really underperforming, then that really brings those guys down, like the Kuhlmans and Grabowski, is where their play is kind of almost dragging down the rest of the guys, since they should be outperforming them and they're not.
I think you could also lump Nelson into that as well. Nelson has been the best of the three between himself, Lee, and Strome, but I still think Nelson has that wicked wrist shot. He has very underrated hands, but he also is very inconsistent. He'll get you 6 goals in a 3-4 game span, and then he'll go 12-15 without scoring. So if Nelson can get himself more consistent, I think he'll be all right. He's definitely not playing as bad he's definitely not slumping as hard as Strome and Lee are, but I would still lump him into that same group. I would love to see more out of Strome and Lee. I think Strome, I don't know what it is with him. I can't put my finger on what made him fall from what he was last season, because it is a dramatic fall. I think everyone was more than happy with what they saw out of Strome last season, so what they see this season hurts even more. Hope it's just a sophomore slump and he comes back next season ready to go. I hope he comes out ready to go before next season, obviously, but you do have to look ahead a little bit sometimes. But hopefully the team gets their head right going into this final stretch. Matt Summerhalter on the YouTube chat says, how concerned are we with the fact that the Isles are struggling with these bad teams when the Rangers and Penguins are on the horizon? And do we think the changing time zones and Canadian winter excuses the play? I don't think the winter excuses the play. I don't think the Canadian winter... If the Islanders came out and said the Canadian winter was part of the reason they're not playing well, I would lose a lot of respect for them. I don't think weather really has that big of an impact on hockey. The changing time zones, I think, can certainly have an issue. I think it could certainly be something big, especially when you have such a drastic change. You're not going from New York to Chicago where it's an hour difference. You're going all the way across the country, and you're playing at 8 o'clock, which is your 11 o'clock, was what your body's used to. So I can see that. I don't love the excuse. I don't want to make excuses for the way they've been playing, because I hope it's just a slump that they shake themselves out of. But I can see the time zone more than anything else. How about you?
Yeah, time zone's a little bit, but at the end of the day, they know what they're getting themselves into. The winter thing is kind of a funny question, and I wish that was the case, but no, we're going to throw that one out the window. Yeah, time zones, I mean, personally, I can't say I've ever gone different time zones and worked day after day, and I'm sure it does take a toll on you. It's it's not what you're used to, and it does take a few days to really get adjusted to that time zone. But to I guess the heart of the question is, should we be concerned about how they're performing against these lesser teams, quote unquote lesser teams? A little bit, but I think a big thing the Islanders do, and I think we harped on this a little bit last week, with a lot of these guys they're a younger team for sure, and I think they get in their head a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I think they almost play down to their competition a bit, which is, I see sports teams do it, and across every league they all do it, and it's a terrible habit. It's a terrible, really, I guess, I don't know the best way to put it, but yeah, they play down to their competition a bit. So we've seen them play. They can play right there almost with the Capitals, with the Rangers, and they play them really well, and they'll beat these teams. But at the same time, yeah, they play these other teams, and all of a sudden it's like we're watching a 2011 Islanders team rather than 2015, 2016 Islanders team. So wouldn't be completely concerned. It's a little alarming if nothing else, but I think they'll kind of get everything back in gear, especially down this stretch. So I wouldn't be too concerned.
I think I agree with you 100%. And I think Sunday is going to set the tone for the rest of the season, for this final 20 games, the final stretch. And I think it's going to let us, the fans, know what we're in for. I think Sunday is the measuring stick. Sunday, because this was game 62, right? So Sunday marks exactly 20 games to play, I believe.
Yep, that was 62 tonight. Yeah. So yeah, 63 is coming up on Sunday.
So Sunday is the first of the final 20 games. So this is really the final stretch. We're 3 games behind the Rangers, 3 points behind the Rangers, and 3 points ahead of Pittsburgh for the final spot in the Metropolitan. So Sunday, I think, will set the tone. The Islanders have to come out. They're going to be playing against the Rangers, have a chance to really make that gap smaller and be able to claw their way back in. I don't know if home ice advantage is as important as people think it is, but it can't hurt to have it. We have back-to-back games, not back-to-back days, but back-to-back games. Sunday against the Rangers, and then Tuesday at home against Pittsburgh. So this week, I think, is going to really be one of the biggest weeks of the season for the Islanders. They start off the final stretch, and, I mean, it's going to show what this team is made of. If they're able to shake off whatever this Western Conference road trip was. And, I mean, we're talking about how bad they played, and they're, 5-1, right? They went 5-1 on this road trip so far to start? Yeah. Only loss was that ugly one in Edmonton. Other than that, they're 5-1 on the first 6 games of a 7-game road trip, and we're complaining. So imagine if this team gets themselves on the right path, how good they can be.
Yeah, that's the thing. They play with 8 of 10 points on a road. That alone, we can't really complain. But I have 20 games. We've got 11 against Metropolitan division or Metropolitan opponents. Yeah, the next 20 games is, I mean, the home stretch is important no matter what, but considering that you can almost really separate themselves. So beat the Penguins, beat the Rangers. I'm not even as like you said, I'm not that concerned about the whole seeding right now. It's more so just really getting in rather than anything else, because there's certainly a possibility that they could lose a few, and then, Penguins start jumping up, and then you're fighting for a wild card spot, not actual positioning. So, and
you're on the outside looking in now.
Yeah, exactly. So that could be a definite possibility. So I'd be more concerned about really just getting points wherever they can get them. But yeah, 11 of the next 20 against Metro opponents, they can really start separating themselves from the rest of the division.
Or the opposite, like you said. So you have to hope that they start playing with the right foot forward and really take advantage of the opportunity they have here. Okay. Cato Ingresha in the YouTube chat asks, do you think we get them back into the swing by putting the kid line back together? And I don't love that idea for one reason, and that is if it doesn't help, that line is a huge liability on the ice. Last year, I loved it because they were all playing well. The way they're playing this year, if putting them back together doesn't spark them as a line, that is a huge liability on the ice, because if they continue to play the way they're playing and then they do that as a unit, that line will get torn apart by most teams in the NHL. So I would love to see that line back together performing the way they did last season. But if you put them together right now and they continue to play this way, I'd be nervous every time they step foot on the ice.
It'd essentially be the opposite of what the fourth line is, where you pretty much they're high energy. You see them out there every single shift, and you would almost get the opposite, where you dread every time they went out there.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't say that's not what's going to happen every time they're out there. And maybe they do click, and maybe that's the line, and that's what the solution is. But like you said, the way they're playing, there's a high amount of liability there, and I don't know if that's something that the team can afford right now, is to put that line out there or lessen their minutes because they're worried about their play. So I think I would still rather them kind of where they are now and split amongst different lines rather than having the kid line back together at this time, at least.
Which, speaking of the fourth line, we do have to say I hope Matt Martin is all right after diving out and making a great play at the end of that game, because all I could think of was the Philadelphia Flyers game last season when the time was winding down and the puck was still in our zone. And Martin made a great play to get the block and then dove out there and sacrificed his body. We hope that he's all right going into Sunday, because the fourth line is one of the biggest pieces of this team, especially in a game like a Islanders-Ranger game.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just to go back on this, I meant to mention it earlier, but bizarre game when it came to injuries. I mean, I thought Brock was going down early in the game. He took that shot off the foot, thought he was done. Prince took the slash to the wrist. Martin took that the slash, whatever it was, the hit. I think there was even one or two more, but it was just
the Letty play in the corner. I thought he got hurt.
I thought he was done. Yeah, so a lot of potential injuries there. So I think it seems that they kind of skated out of there without any issues, but at the same time, we're gonna have to wait to see what happened. But yeah, I mean, the fourth line is going to be huge, and it's almost strange to say it. I mean, that everyone kind of says that the Islanders' fourth line is the best in the business, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, they're such a big impact, and sure, maybe they're not scoring as much, although Zizekas, real hot, and I mean, they still will score. But yeah, that's the type of line that you just need that against these teams like the Rangers and Capitals and whoever it may be. But yeah, hopefully everyone's healthy, especially Prince. And I saw that Eric actually kind of segue into that. Eric asked about our thoughts on Shane Prince. So if you want to kind of dive into that.
Well, and it's perfect because Matt Summerhalter again followed that up with who sits when Grabo comes back, because Prince looked good. So if we can combine those two, I think Shane Prince is going to be a prototypical middle six guy. He's going to be somewhere a second or third line player. He's quick. I like his speed a lot. Someone on Twitter today said Grabner-esque. I wouldn't quite go there yet. I haven't seen enough of him to see if he has that same acceleration, but I do like his speed. I think he's a heady player. He's got his head up. He's clearly not afraid to shoot. So he went 5-hole on Hutchinson today after taking what I would say is the equivalent of a Sammy Sosa swing off his wrist, and was still able to beat Hutchinson 5-hole to give the Islanders the 2-1 lead. So I like Prince. I like Prince a lot. I don't think he's going to be an elite superstar that the fans were hoping we would get at the trade deadline, but I think he's going to be more than serviceable. I see him now. I'm saying I like him, and who I'm about to compare him to, I think fans are going to be coming for me with pitchforks and torches. I think he's Bailey-esque, where he's not going to be this game-changer superstar, but he's going to get himself in the right places, and if he plays well, he'll be effective.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he is, and I've been impressed with his play the last couple of games, and numbers probably wouldn't back it up a ton, but like you said, I mean, that penalty he drew tonight was a perfect example of, I think, the type of guy we're going to get. He keeps his feet moving. He's very quick, and I think his acceleration is almost explosive. But I'll give credit to Garrick from White House Hockey. He made a great post about really what we can expect from Shane Prince, and what he was saying is, yeah, he's a guy that will draw penalties a lot more frequently than I'll take them. So that alone is great, and just he's going to be someone that for the most part is driving possession, and I think he's done a good job of really just kind of, like I said, he's just explosive. He's getting to the puck, and he's really creating more opportunities. And I don't want to go too deep into it, but Pulak's been very impressive in the same sense, where he looks almost identical to how Leddy skates with the puck, and he's been incredibly impressive so far for someone who's only played a couple of games so far in the league.
When he made that one rush, I think it was in the first period, and he came. I think it was the first period, and he came down the right wing side and carried it all the way in, and had the patience to wait, and then make a pass. I was extremely impressed. I think Pulock has been great since coming up. I don't know if you saw my tweet, but I said, here's my thing with Pulock. He is extremely impressive offensively and on the rush. He still has some work to do defensively, but I think it's time for him to learn that at this level. I can admit that I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping him here now. After seeing him play at this level, I don't think he needs to develop more in Bridgeport. I think he just needs to learn the defensive style of the NHL and just be here and get reps.
I agree with you 100%. And the fact, too, that it's nice to see that the team is acknowledging that they've been very pleased with this play. And I just don't think there's reason for him not to be playing right now. He's proved exactly the type of player that we've expected. I don't know if we were talking about the same play, but I think it might have been his first game. Yeah, he entered the zone, went behind the net, and then did that. I wasn't crazy about the drop pass since it was in the middle, but it was a great pass, and whoever he set it up had a great opportunity. But overall, yeah, he could definitely use a little bit more work in the defensive end. But overall, I mean, we cannot be upset about his play, and he's going to be a great addition. Especially, I mean, as a 5'6" guy, certainly take him over the other options that we have.
Who will not be named.
No, we're not going down that road.
But back to Matt's question now. Who sits when Grabo comes back? Because Prince has looked good. And I agree with that. Right after that, Chris Vagel says Strome could use a game or two off. And I tweeted that, I think, mid-third period. I said I wouldn't mind seeing Strome miss a night. Be given the keys to the press box. Watch the game. And it's not even... See, to me, being a healthy scratch isn't so much a punishment thing as it is listen, we're going to watch some video at practice or during the video session. We're going to watch some video. We're going to show you what you're doing wrong. And then you're going to sit and you're going to watch from the press box. Everything's going. You get a different view of the ice. And you guys would be surprised what that different view of the ice can do for a player. You give him a night or two off. You let him sit upstairs. You let him watch the play. You let him take in everything that's going on, and then you get him back in the lineup. And who knows? It could completely. And I know Eric. I know Strome had the best Corsi tonight, but come on, man, go with the eye test. Strome has not been good.
No, to your point, he has not been good, and he did have the stint where he went down, and he's still young. That's what the thing is. I mean, he's not some old vet that we expect like a ton from. You know, it wouldn't kill him to sit in the press box for a game. And I mean, if you look at it almost like a non-hockey job, look at it as a, you know, whatever type of job, or a regular white collar job, where if your boss came up to you and said, hey, you know, I think you might want to let someone take the lead on this, maybe go with them, whether it's a sales call type of situation, go with the older guy, go on the sales call and see what he does. I think that can go a very long way with someone, just to see how someone else is doing something. And you look at it in a much different perspective than you would if you're just kind of doing the same thing day in and day out. So I agree with you. I don't think it's going to kill them to have a day off. And I would say they have the depth and they have the tools now to maybe slot in a Prince now. And then when Grabowski's back, have him play. And when Strome's back, you know, let him just sit out the one game. He comes back the next game. And if he doesn't improve, you know, it's not the end of the world, but at the same time, he kind of knows in the back of his head what may happen if he's going to keep up the same type of play.
And to that point, and I agree 100%, but to that point, if Prince continues to play this well, all of a sudden that may light that fire underneath the Lees, the Nelsons, and the Strome saying, hey, this kid's here for my roster spot. And I don't really want to give that up. I want to play, especially a guy like Strome, who has been struggling more than the other two, I believe. Lee still... See, my thing with Lee and Strome are, when Lee is struggling offensively, he brings more to the table in the other two zones of the ice than Strome does. So that's why I keep harping on Strome having to improve, because Lee brings you the size, he brings you the physicality, he's more responsible defensively. And I know the Corsi doesn't say that for this game. And I agree, Eric. I agree. Strome is part of the team's future, which is why I'm okay with sitting him a game or two this year, because that could ultimately be the best for his development. Right now, I'm more concerned, and chase me down with pitchforks. The chances of an Islanders Stanley Cup this year are small. Is it there? Sure. Am I rooting for it? 150%. Would I be thrilled? I'd take off of work for 2 months so I could celebrate. But the chances aren't huge for an Islanders Stanley Cup this season. I'm still looking to the future, and I know fans are sick of hearing that. They're the older fans who have been looking at this rebuild since the late 80s. I understand that, but I'm still looking at the future, and yes, Strome is 100% a part of this team's future. But I think the team has to take the proper steps to develop him so he doesn't go the route of a Bailey, because Bailey could have been exponentially better than he is. But I think the rushing him into the NHL level is what has Bailey at the level he is right now.
Well, and to that point, though, that's what I saw several people complaining about, that DeCall and whoever else is going to be, they're going to be the next Baileys, they're going to be rushed, they don't know how to handle prospects. Well, this is what Strome is then. Don't be upset if he takes a night off or he does get that healthy scratch. If you don't want these types of situations, then you have to be flexible and let these guys sit and let them develop properly then. Sure, DeCall and everyone else is going to, they're still in the juniors. That's great. They're developing. But you can't be upset if they're going to maybe slow down their professional growth a little bit. And they'll get to the point where they are. But again, to my point earlier, they're still very, very young.
And look who it is. I was waiting for him to jump in there, but I guess he didn't want to. It's Dan Savarino, home from work, able to join us here.
Hey,
Dan,
guys.
thanks for jumping in.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
There we go.
Yeah, we're alive. We're good. On the fly. That was impressive.
I'm impressed with
full
that.
line change.
Oh, is that what they call this?
Yeah, I think so. Not a full line change, which I have been seeing a lot lately.
We did that better than the Islanders. No too many men.
Well, you never know. You don't want to deal with those too many men penalties. Bench miners are gonna kick your tuchus every time.
We actually changed well tonight.
Oh, that's good to know.
The rest of the game was disgustingly ugly, but we changed well.
All right, listen, 2 points are 2 points, especially when the Rangers started to push away here, and then of course they lost tonight, which I don't know what was going. I think what happened. Did Lundqvist get hurt? Is that what I saw?
Ooh, there was a little bit of a controversy there.
Yeah, he pulled a legio and he flung the net too.
Huh, interesting. That's one of the most competitive guys in the league right there.
I think what happened was, and we'll get back to the Islander talk in a second, but I think what happened was he wanted an injury timeout and wasn't given one, so when the Penguins came down on a rush, he turned around and just threw the net.
You know what? I partially can't blame him for that.
I don't hate it.
Timeout for goalies, you know the way it is.
Oh, yeah, I don't hate it either.
Yeah.
I'm going to hate it because Lundqvist did it. But I definitely
fan talking to you.
Exactly. But I definitely appreciate the intent. All right, we're gonna have to. I think we're gonna have to address this in the chat. Matt says rumors are that Cap and Garth get canned if the Islanders don't win a round. Good discipline in not rushing Pulak earlier if he was not ready in an attempt to save their own jobs. First, I can 100% believe rumors that Cap would be out if the Islanders don't win a round. I can't see Garth being let go just yet, mainly because the new owners don't take over until July 1st. And I'm sure the new owners would want their GM in. And if you're going to fire your GM on the first day of free agency, then you are terrible at owning a team.
Not only that, you need to be ready to make the biggest move if you're going to pull a move like that. But quick side note, I'd like to thank Eric for being very logical and reasonable with his questions. These are very normal and reasonable questions, and we all appreciate that.
Because I am not used to that.
No, not one bit, and these are great.
Yeah, before we address this rumor more, who's the source saying this? Well, not the actual source, but which reporter has pointed this out?
I think it's just been a lot of kind of hubbub around Twitter and whatnot. You kind of just start hearing these things. I don't think there is like a real source behind this. And I mean, I get it where these are coming from, but for the most part, yeah, I could see the Capuano a little bit just because it's, you've had a lot of time now and you've had somewhat, for the most part, you've had the tools now to really take this team to what we would say is another level, and which is unfortunately our Stanley Cup of winning a single round in the playoffs. But no solid source, but at the end of the day, I get where they're coming from, and yes, I think Capuano could be on the way out if they don't win that round, but at the same time, I could see them also hanging on to him for one more season, and then I've mentioned it before, but I think they do get pretty aggressive in the offseason and start getting these. I think they go for a bigger name player in the offseason since they almost have to this year.
Here's my thing with Capuano, and I've been singing the same song since last season. I think he's been great. I see, the people who do nothing but criticize and hate on him, I don't think understand why he was brought in and how good of a job he's done with what he has done. He came in as an AHL coach and helped this team develop the AHL talent they had into NHL players. He is that quintessential bridge coach. Do I think someone else is more equipped to take them to the next level? Sure. Do I think Cap's tenure may be coming to an end? Yes, but not by anything he's done. I think it's just time to make that turn. I think he did his job and served his purpose and did it well. I mean, he's got 200 wins with the Islanders, and if you look at the team he had when he took over, the fact that he has 200 wins is impressive. But I think he may have done his job now, and in order to take it to the next level, someone else may need to be brought in. But I can't fault Snow and Wang for wanting to stick with him and give him a chance to see through the rebuild that he's been a part of and that he really sparked because they've played so well under him.
There were numerous times the last, I want to say 2 to 3 years, which I remember everyone was calling for his head. Not just the fans, writers were saying it as well. And I'll tell you what, there were points where I remember there was a one period during 2 years ago, right before, not the year before the playoffs, in between, right after the Penguins. And they were on that bad losing streak in November, if you guys, of course, remember it, and how they've always struggled in that month. And there was those 3 days, the 3 days off, and it's funny, all we kept talking about, a lot of us, was that I don't know how he makes it out of these 3 days. And then one day goes by, it's like, okay, Capuano's still here. Second day goes by, Cappy's still here. Third day, and there wasn't any news. It was almost like those 3 days are probably the 3 longest of his life. And once I think he passed through that, I think that became the test because they turned the team around last season, obviously. They knew they needed those pieces. But I think the issue is really, I think it's going to come down to, I don't know if he's going to get fired right away if they lose in the first round. Because listen, you play the Rangers in the first round, hypothetically, you lose in a 7-game series, a tough 7-game series. How are you going to, fire a guy like that when sometimes maybe one goal will decide it in the end? I think it's going to be difficult, but I do agree with you, Shane. I don't know if he is the guy to be that one coach, but he's definitely was a very big piece of this organization throughout the last 5 years.
And to that point, though, too, I mean, it's very difficult to find a great NHL caliber coach. There are guys like, I mean, who would have people wanted? They could have gotten Tortorella, Dan Bylsma. I mean, what do they really have? They don't have the best track record. Dan Bylsma got, he had one Stanley Cup with what was essentially almost like an Olympic roster. I mean, there's just not that many coaches out there that you could have even hired. So it could have been Jack Capuano, who is very familiar with the club. The players like playing for him. Or there could have been a guy who you just kind of hire because maybe he's got a lot of wins under his belt, but it doesn't mean it's good for the players. It's good for the structure of the team. So, yeah, I mean, there's options of firing him, but that could almost take you back further take more steps backwards than we would have gone forward. So there's kind of the pros and cons to that whole decision.
My thinking is this offseason has to be focused on bringing in that high-end player more so than bringing in a new coach. I think your focus, if you're Garth this season and if you're Malkin and Ledecky, needs to be, we're going to bring in that big name. We're finally going to make that big splash, whether it be at free agency or through a big trade. I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see a Hall trade, or I think you're going to see them throw an absurd amount of money at a guy like Stamkos. Now, maybe not Stamkos because he's going to want astronomical figures, but I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see them focused on that player more so than anything else, which is why I can't commit to saying I think Capuano will be fired, because I think the focus is elsewhere right now, and that elsewhere is bringing in that help for Tavares, especially if the offense continues to sputter and falter the way they have been. Which,
go ahead.
It took a weird bounce off of a defenseman's face for the Islanders to win this game in overtime tonight.
Yeah, no, Dan, you didn't see it. It was bizarre. It pretty much, Nielsen's shot went off Wheeler's face. Puck fell to the ice. Okposo buried it. Absolutely a bizarre sequence of events. But yeah, I think that's what. But back to your point, Shane, I think that's exactly what it is. I think they're going to more so go after that. I'd say real game changer player, at least for game changer in the sense that it's really going to change the dynamic of the team, and it's going to bring in someone that everyone's been clamoring for in terms of that winger that Tavares needs and the winger that Tavares deserves, according to a lot of people. So I think that's what it is more than anything else, because how much can a coach do? I mean, it gets to a point where is a coach really going to elevate a team? Like, if you had a different coach on this team, how much further are they going to take them with the talent that he's given? I just don't know if it's going to be that much drastic than, say, a Hall or, if a Stamkos, if in a dream world. I just think that's going to have a lot more of an impact than any coach would have.
Not to go too off topic here, but I'm just watching this goal now. That is, that's one of the weirdest endings I think I've ever seen in a hockey game.
All I was saying was, thank God I'm not doing the play-by-play, because I would have been like, do I yell happily? I'm confused.
Yeah, that's a weird one. At least if it went off like a body part, it's different. But rang right off the face. I've never seen a team, as soon as they score the game-winning goal, wow. I'm watching replay again. As soon as they scored a game-winning goal, celebrate, and then Franz comes over and runs and tries to make sure everyone's okay. That is very strange.
I think the I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, because I don't want to say funny, but I think the thing that struck me the most was Okposo went from like his little two-handed fist pump, to, oh crap, let's get a trainer out here waving to the bench like immediately. And the minute I saw that, I was like, oh, something's not right.
Hey, let's give the respect to the Islander players for doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it was such a weird. I'll give you, if you need it, I'll give you my Game Center login so you could watch the archived version, because this game was bizarro game. Like, this game should not have been an NHL game. It was horrendous.
With about 8 potential serious injuries.
Yeah,
and two potential suspensions.
Jeez. Well, here's the big, part of this though. Another win on the road trip. So now you get a chance to, get another game under your belt, another 2 points after you drop them in Edmonton. You come back home very, very soon. I think they're flying home tonight. They'll probably be off tomorrow. Have a practice on Saturday most likely, and then Sunday will, of course, be the big Ranger game, which a lot of us are waiting for. So, that's going to be a fun one this weekend. I think overall, when you look at this road trip, is it a positive trip? I think it has to be. You only dropped one game, and you should have won that game too. You played a team that really you didn't show up against in Edmonton. But otherwise, I think that's the most successful road trip that you could pretty much have, minus the one game.
To be fair, though, did they show up to any of the wins either?
But 2 points are 2 points.
Oh no, I agree 100%. When you look at the calendar and you look at the wins and loss column, it was a very successful a very successful road trip. But when you watch the games, you kind of sit back and say, hey, maybe we need to work on some things before we make this final 20-game stretch for the playoffs.
Yeah, and I appreciate, Dan, you bringing a little positivity into this because we couldn't find any for a while.
Yeah,
So
it was a pretty negative.
That was very nice of you.
Well, the way I'm looking at it is just look at the standings itself. I mean, I've never, we said this last week, I've never seen, standings so close. And when Pittsburgh picks up another 2 points tonight, now they're, 3 points back on the standings right now. Now 3 points back of the Islanders. Isles have 1 game in hand. Their Islanders are only 3 points back of the Rangers after gaining another 2 points on them tonight. Nobody's catching Washington. But with the wild card spot, Detroit at 75, Pittsburgh 74, Philly's right in the mix. New Jersey, even though they made some trades, they're still right in the mix. Somehow Carolina, they won't probably be in the mix in about 2 weeks. They're there as well. Remember, Ottawa made that big, splurge last year. Montreal with 66 points is not out of the question. We've seen much worse. So anytime, in my opinion, you're picking up 2 points, and you've heard a lot of coaches around the league keep saying this. It's funny, at the office, I had the Ranger game on at first, and I was listening into the broadcast, and they were saying when they were talking to Mike Sullivan, the head coach from Pittsburgh, and Sidney Crosby, how they know every game is pretty much a playoff caliber game, even though they're sitting in the playoff spot once you're above that line. But every game's going to matter until you finally see that star that says you clinched and you're going to the postseason. Yep. So I just think it's a whole different ballgame right now where no matter how bad you're playing, pick up the 2 points and keep moving on.
Yeah, I mean, even look at the Central. Going into tonight, it was I think it was 83, 83, 83 for Chicago, Dallas, and St. Louis. So it's been across the league, aside from Washington, which is, they ran away with the President's Trophy. But it's been tight all around, and it's insane, how close this race is going to be.
You know what else you missed tonight, Dan, just to get back to tonight's game for a second?
I'm just throwing my credibility out the window here. I'm not even watching the games.
No, tonight's the only one you missed. We'll give you that. Everybody has to work.
No, I missed the other day, too. I fell asleep.
Oh, you don't have to tell people that, though.
Yeah, these West Coast games are rough.
Oh, man, they are. But you missed a little Purple Rain.
I guess so.
For those who don't understand that, Purple Rain was a song that Prince sung. And Shane Prince scored his first goal. I'm happy because his name's Shane. So, I mean, as long as he's playing well, I'm going to be a happy camper.
Now, this is going to be a new nickname for Prince?
I love Purple Rain. I hope it is.
I think I'm going to call him Purple Rain. I'm cool with it if everybody else is going to do it. That'll be his nickname on this podcast, at least.
Oh, I gave it to him on Twitter already. I mean, I'm sure other people did too, but I'm very firm on Purple Rain.
I was going to go Little Red Corvette, but that takes too long to get out of the mouth.
Purple Rain's easy. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. Now that's a good question in the chat. Sorry, Reagan.
That's what I was going to get to, so we're on the same page here.
You take it. Take it away.
Well, the first one, was we got out muscled, need a few bigger bodies. This is something I wouldn't say it's near and dear to my heart, but it's very close to that status where I see this one a lot on Facebook, and I'd say from more the older generation where they're so used to that physical play and the enforcer type and fighting, and it's just something that we're not seeing as much. And I think that's a role it's really going away. We're not seeing it as much. It's becoming extinct and endangered, I guess you'd call it. But yes, certain teams are more physical, and I think the perfect example of that is the Capitals, where they can skate, but they can also hit and they're physical. So I think there's a perfect balance. I don't believe that you just need to be throwing the body around all game, because what that essentially is saying is that you're throwing the body around because you don't have the puck. So you're possessing the puck less. That's less opportunities to get the puck to the net and score goals. So yeah, I guess you could be physical to a degree and be more physical, but at the end of the day, there's to have a pretty good balance of that physicality and also talented players. Because at the end of the day, I'd much rather have 12 goal scorers rather than 12 guys that can hit. Because I mean, we know which one's going to win that battle. So I mean, it's one of those. It's more, I guess, an opinion piece, really. But personally, yeah, I just don't think that's really having much of an impact anymore in the game.
in relation to that, that's where I said, I forget if I said it in the chat or on Twitter, I wouldn't have minded like. Brooks Like is a guy that I think brings a lot of depth, especially around playoff time. Someone who brings that kind of toughness. I wouldn't have minded taking a flyer on him. I'm not mad or upset that we didn't, but I wouldn't have minded taking a flyer on a guy like Brooks Like.
Yeah. I'm impartial, I guess. I don't really have a firm stance either way. It was one of those, if they were to pick him up in a low type deal, sure. But at the end of the day, whatever. I don't really have much of an opinion on him either way. But I see where you're coming from, though. I mean, the experience, if nothing else, would have been nice.
Well, that's the only thing this team really lacks. I mean, experience, and they got a lot of it last year. So I think when you go down the road, you're going to have to keep looking at guys like Letty and Boydchuk who have gone through. And they said it a lot last year. They were looking at a lot of each other to look to those kind of things, because a lot of these players going into the playoff series last season we're saying the same thing. Josh Bailey said it. Kyle Oposo said it. He said, yeah, some of my best memories were, playing in the playoffs because it's the only one I've ever played in. Now they have two. So him, Franz, those guys have two. So now they can look to these other leaders and understand even more how to get to that next level. And that includes even a player like Orion Strome, for example, or Brock Nelson, even though he was hit-miss in the postseason. Anders Lee, who was not very noticeable, but still has some games under his belt. So, again, would have helped. A lot of those guys kind of would have helped up the middle, but I think still with this team, they have that good balance of speed and size. They're still going to throw the body, but they're, still a very fast team. And that's also what you see from the Capitals this year. Matt Niskanen said it after their game the other night that was on NBC against Pittsburgh. He said to Pierre Maguire that he thinks this year's team with the Capitals is faster than last year. So last year we hit more. This year we're faster, but overall we know how to still play that heavy game. So I think that's style. It's that Western Conference style. Play heavy, but use your speed and be able to score.
It's such a hard balance to maintain on an NHL roster. Because you want that skill, but you also want that physicality, and you don't want to sacrifice one or the other, which is why I thought Lee was going to be such a big part of this season, and hopefully he can get back on track, because Lee brings both the size and, to me at least, from what I've seen from him, the talent when he's playing well.
Landers is your typical garbage player. I don't mean garbage like that. I mean he's your, garbage man kind of player. He's going to clean up all the trash right in front of that blue paint. He wants to park himself there. He gets down low, and he plays heavy. It's Mike Babcock, legendary coach, Stanley Cups, Olympic gold. I remember last year we were in Detroit, and he made a point of saying during his pregame press conference, I want my guys to play more like guys like Anders Lee, who just play heavy, get hard to the net. So these coaches want guys to play physical. And by the way, when I did tell Anders that, I think he blushed more than I've ever seen him blush before. But I think his face almost looked like it was a Red Wings jersey. But that's beside the point. People want guys like that. And we saw Kuhlman do that in the postseason last year, how physical he is along the half wall, because that's where his strength is. So, I mean, I think it's hard to have that balance. You're right, Shane. It's really difficult to have that balance on any given hockey team. But we're seeing it, I think, less and less of the pure physical player to the more skilled player. But I still think that balance is important when you think of like the Kings team that that won the Stanley Cup and beat the Rangers. They beat them on their size. I mean, last year the Blackhawks, they have a little bit of size, but they're more finesse skill teams. It's much different. You just never really know nowadays in this league. It's a very changing league.
And now,
and I was going to say, I think the perfect player in this situation is who we saw tonight is Bufflin. He can score goals, but he can throw the body around. That's the type of guy I would love to have on a team where you're getting the best of both worlds. So you can still get that scoring touch and you can still get the physicality of it, but he's not going to do. He's doing both. You're not getting the guy who's just kind of the goon running around hitting guys, but he's not just the guy that's almost afraid to hit guys. He's a perfect medium, I think. But I would make a Nintendo ice hockey reference, but I think a lot of people would miss that one. But he's that guy that's in between there, and a lot of teams would kill for a player like that.
Now we get to the real important question, though. 7-0-1 in his last 8 starts. Do we continue with Grice in Sunday's game against the Rangers, or do we go back to the quote-unquote number 1 in Halak?
Halak.
In agreement. Yaro's been unbelievable against the Rangers.
Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. He played some of his biggest games against the Blue Shirts. We saw it. I mean, except for that one shootout that they had, that 6-5 game at the Coliseum, he has been unbelievable against the Rangers. I go back to Yaro.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, you go to Halak, and we touched on this last week, but I still think he's in that phase that you still need to build his confidence, and he still needs that real solid win to get him back on his feet. And he has had some solid wins, but to go in and beat a Rangers team, I think that would take him right back to where he was, and it would be a great win for him going into the stretch. So I'm all in on Halak against the Rangers on Sunday.
I am all for Halak as well. I think Grice has been fantastic, but Halak is still your number 1. You can't give up on him, especially not with 20 games left in the season. Grice is 7-0-1, but who's to say that can continue down the stretch? He's never had the starting role. I don't know if we want to thrust him into the number 1 role again with just 20 games left. However, I have a short leash on Halak Sunday because I'm no longer afraid to go to my backup as an Islander fan, because Grice has been that good. But Halak has been A, good against the Rangers, B, he's still your number 1, C, you're heading into the playoffs. Now, when you look at it, who would you rather be your number 1 heading into the playoffs, Halak or Grice?
Halak in a landslide. He's got the experience, and he's been historically pretty good in the playoffs. So Halak, yeah, for sure.
So you figure there's 20 games left. There are 1, 2, 3 sets of back-to-backs. 4 sets of back-to-backs. So that's at least 4 games for Grice. We have Pittsburgh, Toronto, Florida, Pittsburgh, Tampa, Carolina, Tampa, Washington as the 4 sets of back-to-backs. So I'm assuming that's at least 4 for Grice. Do you anticipate him seeing more action than that, or do you anticipating a 16-4, 15-5 split down this last 20 games if Halak plays well in the games he's given?
I think they go as close to 50-50 as possible, just for stamina reasons and just to keep him fresh for the most part too. So it's one of those. It's 50-50 in terms of playing time, but 50-50 in terms of you want to keep them rested, but also keep them fresh at the same time. So it's a weird mix of a little bit of both. But I just don't see why they would want to sit one over the other, especially since we've seen how one can get hot, the other can get hot, both can get hot. So yeah, I'm going split that pretty much just go 10-10 down this stretch.
Not many teams have 2 goalies that they can feel confident with and go 50-50 for the last whatever amount of games it is. What is it, 20-something games for the rest of the year? Not many teams can do that and still solidify themselves in the postseason and push to try and keep going up in the standings to maybe get to that second spot in the division. So I think they're definitely going to use that to their advantage and go 50-50 throughout the rest of this. At least I think the rest of the month. I don't know what they'll do for maybe the last couple of weeks, but you also want to keep your number 1 in Yarrow fresh.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to run him into the ground. So maybe a 10-10 split, maybe 11-9, 12-8, but I certainly see it being close to that. Now, let's wrap up here, guys, because we're at about an hour. I try to keep it around there. We got a couple minutes to go before that. I just wanted to touch on the World Cup of Hockey. I would like to say I don't love the idea of a World Cup of Hockey. I just want to put that out there. I'm sure it's going to be cool to watch. I'm sure it's going to be interesting, exciting, fun. I like the Olympics, so I'm sure it'll be good. I don't know if I agree with having this every 4 years, because now you're essentially playing every 2 years because you have the World Cup and then the Olympics and then the World Cup and then the Olympics and then the World Cup. I don't know that I love it. It is pretty cool that the Islanders have a couple of guys on the roster, on some of the rosters, and then a couple of guys who I think can still be considered. Just to go over who they have. Tavares obviously will be on Team Canada. I think if he would have been left off, there would have been cause for uproar and murder.
Rides.
Franz will play on Team Europe. Yaroslav Halak will be on a Team Europe as well. And then Nikolai Kulemin will be on Team Russia. I will admit that one surprised me the most out of the 4 people who were named. I figured Franz would have a shot at Team Europe because he does play a really good two-way game. He's your prototypical number 3 center. So I figured Franz would have a shot. Yaro has been a fantastic goalie over the past couple of years, so I kind of had an idea he'd be there too. Kulemin surprised me on Team Russia, but I'm happy for him that he gets a chance to represent his country. And Tavares, I think, was a given that Tavares would be on Team Canada. Nobody on Team USA, although I do think we have a shot at least one of 3 guys getting on when they do extend the rosters and finalize them. One being Letty, one being Nelson, and one being Oposo. What do you guys think?
Overall, I'm not crazy about the idea. I think it was the same thing when they did, I don't know if they even still do it, the World Baseball Classic, which it just seems so gimmicky for me. Yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, hockey summers, as we all know, the summers couldn't feel any longer for hockey to get back, so that's great from one point, but at the same time, I don't know, and I'll probably tune in because I'm just a sucker for that, but I don't know. But to your point, I think Letty does make the roster when they extend, but overall, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan, but I will probably watch just because I have nothing else to do.
Well, I'm obviously going to watch this. I actually want to go just because Toronto's one of my favorite cities, and I got to get back there at some point. That place is awesome.
I literally just had this conversation today about, hey, let's take a vacation the first week of and go.
I'll tell you what, I was up in Toronto last year during the World Junior Championships. My cousin happened to have his bachelor party up there around the same exact time, so we got a chance to catch one of the World Junior games, and I think it was Russia and Switzerland, but just watching that kind of atmosphere, even for the Team Canada games on TV when they were playing over in Montreal, and obviously Toronto, Montreal were the 2 hosts, there's something special in that city during this time. But to talk about the World Cup of hockey itself, I do wonder, and there is a lot of discussion, if this is going to be a reason to try and get the players maybe to side with them that here we'll give you our World Tournament, maybe not do the Olympics. Because remember, it does disrupt 2 weeks in the regular season compared to disrupting the beginning of the season. You get hurt during this, you're going to miss the first couple of months. Big, but it's better than losing, for example, at John Tavares when you're in February and you're trying to make a playoff push, and now he's done for pretty much the rest of the year or into the playoffs. So I don't mind the idea. I do agree, though, it's a little maybe like the World Baseball Classic, a little gimmicky. 2 teams to watch out for the most, in my opinion, under 23 for the Team North America and Team Europe, because the guys on Team Europe, such as the Slovenias, the Slovakias, the fact that they were not selected as their own team, and we've seen the pride they've played in, such as Slovenia a couple of years ago, watch out for them because they're going to be playing, I think, for the most pride, I think, of all these teams that you're competing with. And then, of course, the young guns are just going to try and show the world that they're the next generation.
And I do think if this first iteration of the World Cup, the new World Cup, because I know they've done it in the past, but I think if it does well, you'll see those countries have their own team. I think you'll see an expansion of the tournament. For my own sake and from a fan's point of view, I almost hope they don't use this as a way out of the Olympics, because for those 2 weeks, I know I could watch the Olympics because I don't have to worry about, well, does it interfere with an Islander game? Because A, I love curling. Curling is the greatest Olympic sport ever. Winter, summer Olympics, doesn't matter. Curling is fantastic. B, I watch the hockey. C, I love the luge. So I know for those 2 weeks there's no NHL, so I could just chill and watch the Olympics. So I hope for my own sake and from a fan's point of view, they don't take the pros out, because I do like that it disrupts the season, because then I don't have to worry about missing Islander games to watch a bunch of people yelling at other people to sweep the ice.
I agree. Big time Winter Olympics guy.
Isn't it great?
It's the best. Summer Olympics stinks. Winter Olympics, the best.
There's 2 sports in the Summer Olympics I like. I like the water polo, and I like handball.
So
other than that, I'm out.
Very debatable. And on one side note, that triangle Team North America jersey, worst thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, pretty ugly.
People love it, but the jersey, I don't even like that. But the logo it looks like Zoltan from Dude, Where's My Car?
Dude, sweet.
Yeah, and
Dude.
it's not sweet. So
No.
let's call a spade here.
By the way, did anyone see the Eichel goal from tonight?
No, not tonight. I saw it from the Mick Eichel Cup, but not tonight's.
If go look at my Twitter feed when we're done here, which I think we're about to wrap up. But he's you're about to hear it in the background again. I apologize, but he skirts the blue line at the blue line and lets like a snapshot go and just goes top corner.
I'm Team Eichel for the record. We're gonna go almost back to like the Twilight days. I'm Team Eichel for sure.
Are you really?
Yeah, I like Eichel a lot. I don't know why. I like both of them, but if I had to pick a side, I'm Team Eichel.
I'm Team Larkin, just because clearly the league is Team Larkin by cheating and giving him a head start on the fastest skater.
Well, I really just meant Eichel or McDavid. But
I'm Team Eichel too, because you got to represent the red, white, and blue.
that too. But I think he's a little more fun to watch. I mean, McDavid's great too. I mean, he's super talented, but I just like Eichel a little bit more. I think I think he's actually the better player as of now, at least.
I think he's a better player for this era. I think his game just fits better. His vision on the ice. He's got that size on the wing, which McDavid lacks. But McDavid's a special player. Oh, he's going to be one of those highlight reel guys you'll watch for years to come. But I've always been a big fan of Eichel myself. I don't know if I like one more than the other. I get a chance, I guess, maybe to see some more highlights of McDavid because they keep putting them up every chance you get. So, it's young. There's a lot of good young hockey players in the league nowadays, and this is a very, interesting time. Real growing league when you got guys like, Taze and Kane who are now starting to become veterans, and Andrei Kopitar and Henrik Lundqvist. They're all starting to get older, and now these young kids are coming in who are younger than me, and that makes me feel a little old, and I'm not that old.
All right, guys. It's late. I'm tired. Reagan, you have another hour on us, so I
do. Yeah, sorry. That's Central Time's the best time. Just keep that in mind.
I think for the rest of my life, I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to fly west, just so I'm constantly going backwards in time, and maybe I won't age.
It might work. It's like Interstellar.
Right? I mean, it has a shot. I highly doubt it, but it does have a shot at working.
It can't hurt to try.
Thank God there's a hockey podcast and not a science one, because I'd be shot. I'm lucky I know 2 + 2 is 5. No? Alright, whatever. I thought that was good. We'll stick to hockey.
Yeah, you're a broadcaster. Stay away from the math.
we'll stay. Yeah, comm major all day. I took about 1.5 math classes in college.
I took 0.
Oh, I had to before they would let me graduate, and I was like, you know what? I don't like you guys anymore. All right, so Reagan, you have anything to push and promote before we get out of here?
No, the only thing closest to pushing is snapshots daily. Sending them out every day now. So if you guys enjoy those, then I guess don't say anything. If not, let me know, and I can try to customize them as we go.
Dan, how about you?
No, we got some exciting stuff this month, of course, with the team back home. That means we'll actually have a chance to get ourselves to practice. So Scal will be at practice. I'll try and make some practices. Mark Wiener will be over there pulling double duty between New York Islanders Radio as well as, obviously, Islanders Insight. So we'll be able to get some maybe more features and some more Q&As, get to know some of these players a little bit better when we get a chance to get there. So it's good to have the Islanders at least back in this month.
And I'm Shane Blackburn. He's Dan Savarino. He's Reagan King. At Reagan King Isles, at Dan Savarino, at Dump and Chase 80 for myself. Check us out, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, all that fun stuff. Check out IslandersInsight.com and come back next week. Till next week. Let's go Islanders, I guess.